Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
If I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change.
Well, hello everyone. I am glad the screen came up properly. Oh, and not that you can really see him, but I usually plug in my lights for my little angel there. I need to move him down a little bit so that you all can, like, sometimes where I arrange the studio just didn't come out that well. How are you all doing? I hope you are doing well. Before we get started, because I forget, I do have a sponsor, and I like to try to remember. Let me see. Is this there we go. Asteros, excuse me. I mispronounced Asteros like Fred Astaire, though it's spelled like Asteros. Tyler Hobbs approved. We might as well make use of the ready-made jokes. Maybe we need to employ Asteros.com, but for certain you do. If you have an online business or organization and you are concerned about your cybersecurity, do I have a free offer for you? Go to Asteros.com/free and take advantage of the offer, and you'll be supporting a libertarian business. So I'm glad I remembered this time. As you know, I also do promote Sean Dempsey's books. We'll do that in the next show, but it was about time for me to talk about Zach over at Asteros.com. Again, oh my God, Bunchy is upset. Bunchy read the SPLC article, and he is just like, exactly. I don't know why he does that. Every once in a while, I have to... I'm leaving him this way. He's quite spastic. Every once in a while, I have to take him off and re-upload him. But holy shit, he's freaking the hell out, isn't he? Oh boy, let me take my little Asteros thing down. But okay, also, before we get started, again, this is a history show. But we're going to do my typical rambles in the beginning. First of all, I do need to ramble for my Patreon. Yeah, it's been a rough year for YouTubers, as I've said before. And I know I have some regular listeners. And if you do like this kind of content, please do consider becoming a patron. You know, you could do it for, I forgot what the lowest tier is, but like the average is $5 a month, though I do have some people who are way more generous, and oh my god, I thank you so much. But please do consider becoming a patron at patreon.com. It helps keep me going. My days are long and hard now that I'm working as well. And if I seem, again, I know I say this a lot, a little peaked, I haven't been feeling well for crap. It's been 2 to 3 weeks now. A lot of it has to do with stress. I just cannot even tell you the amount of stress that can be involved in being an officer in a national political party. I enjoy it. I enjoy my work. But sometimes it can wear on you. It certainly can wear on you. And is there any other announcements? Oh, check out my Substack. I think it's substack.com/Karen Ann Harlos. It might be Pink Flame of Liberty. I can't remember what name I chose, but I did refute. Refute's not really the right word. I did contextualize some of the financial information that is going around, and I am just really tired of the crap. Let me give you the bottom line. This LNC is not bleeding donors and is not bleeding members. That is just frankly false. Go check out my Substack where I give you actual figures and statistics. But I am going to preface this by saying we are not headed into a good economy at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if necklaces are all, if we do end up into a point where, you know, we're at certain low points. And I'm sure haters will blame current leadership, but of course leadership always does need to take accountability. This is not a good financial time for everyone. I mean, look, even Bunchy is trying to run away from this economy. You hear me like constantly, and let me just speak for myself personally. I used to regularly get new patrons, and it's just not happening anymore. And some people go, yeah, that's because people hate your guts. No, that's not it. My viewership is actually up. But, you know, things are tough. So, just enough on that. Look at the tiny bottles of Fireball I'm reduced to. Pity me. Patreon.com. I could get larger bottles of... Now, they actually sell these at the convenience store, and you guys just know what a big fan of Fireball I am. So I figured, you know, why not? Why not a little? This Friday, for the LNC update, there should be some interesting news as well. It's nothing new. Just updates on what's going on. But I'll give you one update now, but we'll talk about it again on Friday. And yeah, and I hear you. Like Trendlin said at the end of the day, a lot of us are saying, do I put gas in my car or do I put food in my stomach? I mean, things are not good. They just simply aren't good. And I actually think, listen, some people might say I'm saying this to avoid responsibility, but I am always saying I'm not happy with any kind of losses. But I do think there is something... When I say obscene, I don't mean pornographic. I mean, like, in the worst of bad taste, about harping on donor numbers in such a bad economy. Obviously, we want to raise as much money as possible. But I can tell you just personally, I know things are hard, and I'm not going to be guilting people. But if you can afford it, again, I love support for my show, but even more importantly, I'm going to say right now, if you don't like the trash yellow journalism that's been coming out, what did they say? Living well is the best revenge. Yeah. Send off a donation to the LP, lp.org/donate. If on Twitter you post a copy of your receipt, I suppose you could even do it on Facebook, but Twitter's better for this. Redact out your name, and I'll retweet it, because this is the way. This is the way. This is the way to fight back. You're not going to stop smear merchants from smearing, but you can get even in a productive way. So if you can help the LP, we would certainly appreciate it. Okay, we're going to get right to the history now. And one last thing. Oh my God. One last thing. And when I get super stressed, I get itchy. So if you see me, because I break out in hives, God, now that I said it, I'm even itchier. I'm also super tired just from my campaign for town council. We're heading into the final stretch. God, I'm just begging for money today, aren't I? Patreon, Libertarian Party. But last thing, some people only give to campaigns. I would love to send out more postcards to the unaffiliates. I've spent every single dime I've raised so far, as I always do. I always promise to, and there's receipts for everything. I have to publicly report that stuff, though I would report it to my donors anyway. But any additional monies raised are going to sending out postcards, starting with the unaffiliateds, which is 4,400 of them out of 9,500 voters in my district. That's a lot of unaffiliateds. So I'm sending it to them first. And we only were able to hit 1,000 of them because, I've spent what I've raised. So yeah, that's been tiring me out as well. And there's another sign that keeps getting stolen. You know what? You're over the target when they're stealing your signs. That's just freaking ridiculous. And Wayne, man, God bless him. I have the best husband in the entire world. He has a much freer schedule than I do right now. So he's been going out every day and continuing the door literature drop. We will cover the entire district with door literature. Another box of it is coming tomorrow. But anyway, now we will go to the LP history. But before we do, I wish I was sponsored by Fireball. That would be just so fantastic. The last camping trip, oh my God, I got so sick from drinking way too much Fireball. But this is tiny. This is tiny. And this is all I'll be having because I've got campaign work to do after this show. You want to know what this reminds me of? Those of you of my vintage may remember, the big thing in middle school was to have toothpicks soaked in cinnamon oil. Do you guys remember that? And all the parents were convinced it was drugs. It was just freaking hilarious. That in your advanced Dungeons and Dragons books. So you were into Satan and drugs, just so you know, because you had your toothpick soaked in cinnamon oil in your AD&D books. Demons and demigods. Okay, let's get started. We've got 4 more episodes. Well, not 4 more. Today, plus 3 more episodes to finish covering this issue of LP News. And because I like your comments on the screen, I really... Yeah, Advanced D&D for the win, Jeremy's I remember that. I was into that. I would be doing the D&D marathons, man. I loved that. Okay. let's do the history. So last time I just talked way too much, as I do, and we did not finish. And I'm not putting it on the screen because I like having the comments on the screen, but I'm going to show you. We didn't finish the state party updates. We did skip ahead to Virginia, but we have a few more to cover, and that's all we're going to do tonight. I've been making these shows shorter, but after that, we've got we got 3 more pages, and it's about a show a page. And we're right on track because we want to finish by the end of October. Oh, I know what else I want. I didn't tell you about Virginia. I said I was going to tell you about Virginia, but then I didn't tell you about Virginia. What haven't you written articles on, JJ? Oh my God, you are a prolific writer. I will be at the special convention in Virginia. They got enough signatures. They got more than enough signatures, which just goes to show that the merry band of alleged dissolvers did not speak for the party membership. There is nothing more arrogant, and nothing more anti-libertarian than this, self-appointed, group of, we have the ultimate, they were elected to do certain positions, and one of those roles was not to dissolve the party over the heads of the members over 50 years of history. It's just absolutely insane. Well, the members have spoken, and they want a special convention. I think it's just outside of Richmond. JJ, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not good with geography. I think it's just outside Richmond. I know I'm flying into Richmond, and it is December 3rd. If you are in that area, I would have loved to see you. I was in Virginia. Crap, was it this year? Man, a lot has happened this year. I was in Virginia earlier this year when one of the oligarchs, Ms. Holly Ward, was elected. So, I'll be there again December 3rd. So, first week in November, I'll be at the LNC meeting in Austin. Then, the first week in December, I will be in Virginia. And more news. I have been officially asked to be the parliamentarian. Once again, it will be the 3rd year in a row. I think it's the 3rd year in a row. It's the 3rd time. I don't know if it's in a row, but I will be the convention parliamentarian for the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. I love going to New Hampshire. I warned Wayne. I'm like, every time I go there, I want to move there more and more. So, yeah, I will be in New Hampshire the last weekend in January, and I think the week before that's probably the Arizona convention. Haven't been asked to be their parliamentarian or anything like that, but I usually go to the Arizona convention because it's so close and flights there are usually so cheap. But because I am working, it'll be the first year I've ever missed the Arizona convention. I usually always go to it, so I'm sorry, Emily. Damn bra strap. I probably will not be able to make it. Okay, now we're going to get to the article. And everyone always wants to see my shirt. I got my Lady Liberty on. Okay. New York. Did I say Pennsylvania? New Hampshire. Oh, am I going to the Pennsylvania convention next year? I think that might be what is being asked in chat. I don't know. When is it? And I can't get that much time off of work. So East Coast turns out to be really difficult because you do have to take a whole day off to travel on Friday. On conventions that are closer, there are evening flights, and I don't have to take time off from work. So Arizona is still a possibility. So, and we do have dates for the Colorado convention now. So now I know if there'll be any conflict. The Colorado convention is the first weekend in April in Golden. I think at the Museum of Mountaineering or something like that. Okay, New York. Libertarian Joseph L. Gentili. And I said I was going to bring my magnifying glass, and I keep forgetting. Dennis Brett says, Porkfest is the only thing I have to make. We want to go. Wayne and I want to go. Whether I'm going to be able to make it or not is always It's always a battle. We're going to try. We're going to try it. I want to be there. Because isn't it the last year at the Rogers Campground? I love that place. It's fantastic. But I should see you in January at least, Dennis. All right. Who has received the endorsement of the Free Libertarian Party will appear on the ballot for Congress in the 16th District on both the Conservative and Republican lines. Remember, there wasn't a Libertarian line then. In my opinion, there is only one issue in this campaign, and that issue is freedom. Specifically, freedom from government intervention into the private economic and social affairs of the individual. Gentile has promised the voters of the 16th District that he will not introduce a single bill that will require appropriation of money, and that he will introduce numerous bills calling for the repeal of various money-wasting laws. That's funny, because that's kind of like, not funny, haha, funny like very libertarian. That's kind of like my campaign promises and my thing. I said I will never vote to raise taxes, and I will work to repeal any possible tax we have that I can. Another FLP candidate with the conservative endorsement is Virginia S. Walker, who will be on the FLP line for the office of State Assembly in Eastern Long Island. A recent New York Times article on the campaign devoted considerable space to the vivacious, to the vivacious Ms. Walker, who discussed her disgust. That's interesting. Discussed her disgust with politicians. I feel ya, Ms. Walker. I feel ya. Who hold pragmatism above principle. Ooh, that will chap some asses. The article concludes with the statement that Walker believes that liberals are too illiberal about recognizing individual property rights, and that conservatives are too conservative about individual freedoms. I'll drink to that. All right, Oregon. The state organization now has a total of 4 active county-level groups. An affiliate charter was just granted for Benton County. Multnomah and Clackamas chapters were affiliated in August, Lane County in July. The state convention early in the summer had about 24 active participants. Since then, state-level business meetings have been on a regular basis in order to better coordinate party activity. Now, Pennsylvania. Someone mentioned Pennsylvania a little while ago. We're going to talk about Pennsylvania now. 50 persons assembled in York for the annual LP State Convention on September 28th. Robert Steiner of the New Jersey LP gave the keynote address on the necessity of political action. The guest speaker for the evening banquet was Roger McBride. The newly elected chairwoman is Jan Shoemaker. The Lancaster Sunday News provided the following description of one part of the convention. To close the morning session, a pair of libertarians from New York State put on a presentation first made before the National Convention this past summer in Dallas, Texas. Cleverly done with slides and background music. That was high tech for that time. Accompanying a talk on party tactics by Andrea Millen, vice chairman of the National Party. An opening song rather keynotes the philosophy. I don't know, that's kind of weird. Rather keynotes the philosophy of the libertarians. We don't mind praise for LP activists, but we're not too happy with the cold-blooded murder of English grammar and usage in the last sentence. I'm glad I'm not the only one who was confused. So the editor, in quoting the, who was this from? The Lancaster Sunday News, they were offended at the molestation of the grammar. I didn't understand that sentence either. So I'm glad I'm not the only one who was thoroughly confused by what they were trying to say. It said, sung well, including small dance steps, by Gene Priest of New York City. I'm not so sure. Okay, I'm gonna make a church joke here. Okay. when you go to a mostly white church and like the worship leader's always like, please don't clap. They don't mean like clap after the song. They mean, please don't try to clap to the beat because it'll turn out like all off key. Now I'm just imagining these libertarians. I don't think I want to see libertarians dance. Let's just put it that way. I think it would be very similar to people trying to clap to worship songs at an almost all-white church. No rhythm. Okay, I'm sure that's racist in some way, and that the Southern Poverty Law Center will come after me because I accused ethnic people of having a better sense of rhythm. You can't win nowadays. I used to be a bass player, so I definitely have a sense of rhythm. Alrighty. The refrain ran something like this. Leave me alone, let me be free. I think I'm the best one to... Where is my phone? Who is calling me at 10 o'clock at night? Who is calling me? I gotta go see who this is. Okay, they stopped. I was about to make a Dave Casey joke. Because it has to be some asshole trying to call me at 10 o'clock at night. Dave Casey, are you trying to call me? It would be midnight in Delaware. I know he'll never see this. It's so funny that I'm calling him. That I'm picking on Dave Casey when I know he won't even watch this show. All right, so this refrain seems fun. Leave me alone, leave me be. I think I'm the best one to take care of me. Oh, okay. Tennessee. A statewide convention of the LP in Nashville on August 3rd put political organizing by Tennessee Libertarians on a permanent footing. The Tennessee LP grew out of West Tennessee Libertarians, an informal discussion group in the Memphis area. Holy crap, there's a big long column on Utah. Like, where are we at? We're here. All of this is Utah. I think the only one that, Utah, New York was about as long as Utah, but you go Utah. Okay, let's see what's going on. State Chairman George Chapman had a 1-minute appearance on KCPX TV on August 17th. Yeah. Oh, I was just looking at a comment. Congressional candidate Carl, and Utah is so big because of Carl Bray. Congressional candidate Carl Bray's views were broadcast for 20 minutes. A Utah newspaper reprinted Chapman's views on land use laws. Yeah, that was kind of misprint there. On October 10th, Bray told 2,000 members of the Utah Education Association, I derive my position on the role of the federal government in Utah education by asking the simple question, will federal intervention into our state-run educational system result in more freedom of choice or less freedom of choice for each individual? He suggested that educational dollars be returned to those from whom those dollars were taken, in other words, stolen, so that they may educate as they wish in an atmosphere of freedom. Bray, who received enough voter recognition to affect the opinion polls, is committed to 11 billboards around Salt Lake City and has contracted for 40 TV spots. That's pretty damn good. During the last week of the campaign. The Salt Lake Tribune of September 1st and I should look this up because I do have a subscription to newspapers.com, printed a discussion of the nature of human rights by Marge Chapman. Newspaper coverage continues on Bray's struggles with the IRS. The IRS demanded Bray's business records after a firm in which Bray was an officer, the Rocky Mountain Mini, purchased a full-page advertisement in Salt Lake City newspapers challenging the constitutionality of the June 13th, 1973 wage price freeze. I am going to look for this article and these ads. I think that would be very interesting to show. So I'm going to need to, we might actually have 4 more shows instead of 3 more, because there's some things I wanted to look up at newspapers.com. 50 people attended the LP meeting on October 1st, and a Libertarian group has now been set up at the University of Utah. Bray is seeking to borrow $20,000 to finance his campaign. He is offering part of his interest in an undeveloped gold mine as collateral. That is so frickin' libertarian, I can't even tell you. The Bray campaign is headquartered at, and it gives an address. We already went over Virginia last time, so we're going to skip over that. We're going on to Washington State. And I am so curious who tried to call me after 10 o'clock. I bet you it was Star Child. The LP campaigns this fall for the Washington State House of Rep and the 36th Legislative District, covering Queen Anne, Magnolia, and most of downtown Seattle and the west side of Capitol Hill. Richard Diamond has sent a mailing list to 3,500 businessmen announcing his candidacy to replace the Democratic incumbent. A complete press release has been distributed to the Seattle area media, and plans are underway to place weekly ads in the Queen Anne and Magnolia News, a paper serving Diamond's district. The Diamond campaign went into full gear immediately following the Washington State LP convention on September 17th. In the 24th Legislative District, Skip Barron and his campaign workers visited the Mason County Fair in Shelton, the Chalem County Fair in Port Angeles, spoke at the Chamber of Commerce in Forks, conducted a radio interview over a Forks radio station, appeared before the Jefferson County Republican Committee, spoke at a committee of the Planning and Zoning Committee in Chalem County. They received good media attention in the newspapers in Port Angeles and in Port Townsend, in addition to several announcements over radio stations. Members of the state LP are working on internal education as well. A study group led by Richard K. Kenny, recently arrived from Massachusetts, has been set up in Bellingham. Interesting. God, we used to get a lot of newspaper coverage. Now, I know newspaper used to be like the shit. So that's why. But man, I wish we got this kind of newspaper coverage today. Wisconsin. An LP booth was set up at the Brady Street Festival in Milwaukee on Labor Day weekend. 1,000 party leaflets were distributed. Organizing efforts are concentrating at present on building local party affiliates around the state. Campus groups are being developed. All right. It says author. Oh, I thought they meant the author of the LP News, which I think is David Nolan. Well, it might have been Ed Crane at this point, but you'll see my confusion. So there's a little right there, there's like a little box that's talking about new life members, and the title is Author Becomes Life-Sustaining Member, and I'm like, the author of the LP News wasn't a life-sustaining member already, but that's not who they mean. It says the most recent, and I've been keeping track of the early party life members. There is an article on Lpedia for that. The most recent life-sustaining member of the Libertarian Party is Leslie Snyder of Oxnard, California. Oh, Oxnard is where Aaron Starr's causing all that trouble, who is the author of the outstanding book, Why Gold? Ms. Snyder joins an elite group of 6 LPers who have paid $250 for life-sustaining status. The importance of contribution memberships cannot be overemphasized, and I would agree with that today. If you're not a member of the National LP, even at just like the regular member amount, $25 a year, come on. But listen, I know, I'm not poor shaming anybody, but if you can do it, lp.org/join. Life memberships are $1,500. I am a life member. I was able to do that a while ago. I wouldn't have been able to do it now. We're working on getting Wayne his life membership. You can pay that monthly as well, which is how I think we're going to do it for Wayne. The importance of contribution memberships cannot be overemphasized. Regular memberships themselves do not provide enough money to finance the ongoing new projects. Why not upgrade your membership today? Oh, interesting, because somebody on staff was asking me what the dues were in the beginning. So sustaining membership is $12. Patron is $50, Lifetime is $100, and Life Sustaining is $250. Please do not feel inhibited by the $250 maximum membership. We have... Oh, this is funny. When they mean inhibited, they mean please give more if you can. We have recently programmed our computer. They had computers in 1974. When did the first personal computer come out? Was there really personal computers in the 70s? I'm not like a computer history person, but I don't think I've seen a reference to computers in an issue of LP News yet, because these are definitely not done on a word processor, because there's all kinds of like typing errors. Anyway, please do not feel inhibited by the $250 maximum membership. We have recently programmed our computer to accept much larger sums. Now I want to know, did they actually have a computer in 1974? Was that word even like something in common parlance in 1974? I mean, I know like the government and shit had computers way back then, like those big things that, you know. But the LP? Okay, I am super curious about this because I remember when Mark Montoni, who a lot of you know, he used to work at headquarters. A lot of you don't know that. In the 80s, when you got letters that were sent from headquarters, a lot of them were signed by Mark Montoni. But he once posted this picture of him. It said, me going through the LP's extensive database. And it was this giant Rolodex that he was flipping through. And that was in the 80s. I can't picture them having a computer in October of 1974. I was 7. I remember when the Commodore 64 came out. I was in middle school. I think I was in 8th or 7th grade when the Commodore 64 came out. Something seems fishy here. Something seems fishy. 1974, they programmed their computers. Well, this will be an avenue that I will need to investigate. JJ says they might have gotten time on a mainframe. They had no money? You mean with those IBM punch cards? My God. Okay. Well, that, I think, is going to be it for tonight. Unless there are any questions, you know, I always hang out for a few questions. And it doesn't just have to be history. So if you got anything you want to ask, you want to comment on, tomorrow's show might be a bit of a takedown of that SPLC trash piece. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do tomorrow. I keep saying there are these old Candace Owens episodes that I want to critique. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do tomorrow. It won't be history. It will be something else. And Candace Owens, man, she had a show today that I listened to that just, it wasn't, I mean, it was political, but not political. Does that make any sense? I think I was so fascinated by the show because it dealt with a lot of history. And you all know, history is kind of like my thing. And she was going on about how we regressed in technology because the Concorde doesn't exist anymore. And she gave a little like example or a brief explanation as to why we don't have the Concorde. And it is historically very incomplete. Like, I know that has nothing to do with the Libertarian Party or even like much of politics today, but I'm like just itching to correct her on the issue of the Concorde. I watch Airline Disaster because I'm afraid of flying. So of course that's very healthy for me to watch every single airplane crash video that there is on YouTube. But that's what I do because I'm just a very well-adjusted individual, aren't I? So I've watched a gazillion million documentaries on the crash of the, I think it was Air France. I know it was a French airline. I think it was Air France Concorde that like ended the whole Concorde system. But that's not really the entire story of why we don't have a Concorde anymore. God, I can't believe I went off on this rabbit trail of the Concorde. But anyway, we might talk about that. But she like literally said she doesn't think we've progressed in any way since the time like when the Concorde was first introduced. I don't know about you. Certainly society's not better in some ways, but come on, you got to be smoking some fentanyl to think that that technology and other things haven't progressed since the 70s. Of course some... Okay, Candace. You know, sometimes I think these conservatives really overplay the rose-colored glasses for the past. And she just had a baby. Now, I know birthing medicine still has a lot to be desired. There is a lot of violations of women's rights, and they don't have a lot of autonomy over their own bodies during the birthing process. That's gotten a lot better, but it was a lot worse in the 70s. Like, how can you not think we've progressed at all on anything because we don't have a Concorde anymore? Like, I mean, that wasn't the entirety of her argument, but that was like the main feature. And the question she asked in this show was, what conspiracy theory do you believe in? And I think that would be a great show for me to do as well. I'd be very curious as to what conspiracy theory, quote unquote, that you believe in. I'm not a conspiracy person. A lot of my libertarians tend to be very conspiracy minded, and a lot of my libertarian friends get mad at me because I really am not a conspiracy theory person. There's only one that I really hold to, and I'll be more than glad to share that with you on a show. It's not 9/11, by the way. I do not believe 9/11 was an inside job. I know that just made me a pariah with a million libertarians, but I'm not convinced. I'm not a conspiracy type of person. There's only one that I kind of hold to. But it was funny when Candace had to say the one, she didn't say she believed in it, but she said the one that kind of like intrigues her, or she kind of, and this is how the Concorde came up, by the way, where she kind of goes, you know, there's something a little fishy. It's the freaking moon landing. I'm sorry if any of my audience does think we faked the moon landing. I tend to think that one is pretty barking moonbat. But she had said that she just didn't think we had the technology to do it at that time, because like even the technology today would make it difficult. And that's when her husband brought up the Concorde. That's how the Concorde came into all this. And he goes, yeah, but we had supersonic flights back. Okay, whatever. But anyway, think about it. We might do a show. Maybe it'll be Twitch, because that's more like just rambly. Though I'll ramble anywhere. You know, we'll ramble for food. We'll ramble for patrons. But I would be really curious as to what conspiracy theories you all believe in. I will not mock you for them. Again, I have my own. And of course, I think the one I believe in is eminently believable. And it's not really... It's a conspiracy, but it's not like one of the more controversial ones. But I think that would be a fun show to talk about. So think about it. All right, I'm going to get going. I did get one new patron last week. I haven't updated the closing screen yet. My health hasn't been good. Like, don't worry about me or anything like that. I have a lot of issues that are comorbid with autism, so I often don't feel very well, so it's not like I'm dying or anything. Sorry, haters. But, yeah, this hasn't been a good health few weeks for me, so I'm kind of behind on some things, but I'll catch you tomorrow. Not sure what we're going to talk about. It won't be history. I don't want to do 2 history shows in a row unless I do look up some of those newspapers.com things. So I hope you have an awesome night, and I'm off to work doing some stuff for my town council campaign for the rest of the evening. Love you. Bye-bye.
what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business.